COVID-19 infection rates are again on the rise. We want you to continue to be vigilant in keeping you, your family, and the wider community safe. You may do so with continued use of the COVID-19 prevention and control measures of hand washing and sanitizing, social distancing, mask wearing, avoiding crowded spaces, and most of all, getting vaccinated. Your health is your responsibility. Safeguard it. It's your favorite magazine program with me, Adrian Atkinson, as your host.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, January 10, 2022. A zone of special operations, ZOSO, is now in effect for Parade Gardens in central Kingston. It's the 6th ZOSO to be established on the island and the first to be named since the start of the new year. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement during a press conference Sunday morning. The community building and enhanced security measure, which is in place for 60 days, is in response to a series of murders linked to an ongoing dispute between warring gangs.
For the period January 1 to December 31st, i.e. the entire year, the Kingston Central Police Division recorded 79 murders. It's an increase of 55% when compared to the corresponding period of 2020. And the second highest percentage increase among all police divisions. The Parade Gardens community, which is really the focus of the Zone of Special Operations, recorded 16 of these murders and is ranked among the top 10 communities with the highest murders across the country.
While we continue to build out the defense, security, and justice system in the medium term, the short-term impact of cauterizing the unacceptable high levels of homicides is also one of the effects we will achieve from the ZOSO.
We believe that this nexus between the security operation and the community development operation will ensure that these communities will sustain the peace for a long period of time. You can imagine that this is therefore a resource-intense activity, and it is a long-term commitment from the JCF and the JDF in men and material.
Persons are being asked to share what they know with the security forces by calling 311 or 876-837-8888. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has asserted Jamaica's sovereignty as a unitary state, refuting the Accompong Maroon community's claim of its right to self-govern. The Accompong Maroons of St. Elizabeth have cited the 1738 signing of a peace treaty with the British, which secured their autonomy as a people, as well as the lands it occupies within the cockpit country. But Prime Minister Holness insists that the duly constitutionally elected government is the sole authority.
There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica other than the government of Jamaica. I want that to be absolutely clear. None. And under my leadership, not 1 inch of Jamaica will come under any other sovereign authority.
Arguing that this is how states break down, the Prime Minister says the claim also has economic implications, as the government could not take Jamaican taxpayers' money to fund another government, if that were the case with the Maroons. He lamented what occurred at the recent staging of the Accompong Maroon Festival, during which a man was killed and several persons, including a minor, were injured.
This is the stuff of how guerrilla wars come and states break down. Wake up, Jamaica. Don't court foolishness and problems. Wake up. People have died as a result. And you expect me to stand here as Prime Minister and fund activities that could lead to the breakdown of our state? Never.
In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has doubled down on government's stance on not using lockdowns as a measure to curtail rising COVID-19 numbers. Coronavirus cases and related deaths have seen a sharp increase in the past 2 weeks, with over 1,500 confirmed cases in a 24-hour period. But during a question and answer segment at a press conference on Sunday, Mr. Holness reiterated the need for personal responsibility in managing COVID-19.
I have been very clear in Parliament, very clear, absolutely gone overboard to say we are not going back to lockdown. So be calm. And I've said what the strategy is. It is now in your hands. Go and take the vaccine. That is the strategy.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness has received medical supplies valued at approximately $57 million from the Issa Trust Foundation. The donation includes oxygen concentrators, 400,000 KN95 and surgical masks, 12,000 isolation gowns, face shields, neonatal and patient monitors, lab coats, and other safety gear. The items were officially handed over to ministry officials on Friday. They will be deployed to the Western and Northeast Regional Health Authorities for distribution to public facilities under their jurisdiction. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton thanked the Issa Trust Foundation for their generosity, which he says will be put to good use. The Mining Ministry has welcomed Windalco's plans to construct a second effluent holding pond to decrease the likelihood of waste runoff from the plant impacting the environment. Mining Minister Robert Montague officially launched the $4 million project last Thursday. The Yuatan-based company is also increasing the capacity of the old pond to prevent spillage into the nearby Rio Cobre River. Minister Montague says the move follows discussions with his ministry, the Jamaica Bauxite Institute, and appeals from residents of affected communities.
No longer, once there is rain, will we have any contamination from the bauxite Redmud Lake getting into the Rio Cobre. If there is contamination after this, it must be from another source, but certainly not from Windalco.
The minister says when the multi-million-dollar facility is completed, overflows from the old pond will enter the new facility to ensure protection of the environment. And finally, mineral exploration company Geofix Jamaica Limited has moved to roll out Phase 3 of a project through which it seeks to confirm commercial finds in gold, copper, and rare earth minerals. Labeled the largest exploration program in the mining industry outside of bauxite, the project, which began in 2018, holds licenses to explore for copper, zinc, gold, and other minerals. Transport and Mining Minister Robert Montague says the project, which is currently employing 28 workers, is being executed through the assistance of overseas consultant geophysicists, geologists, explorationists, and geochemists.
When I announced the program in Parliament, there were some skeptics. And persons were saying the only thing here is limestone and bauxite. Well, the surveys have shown that there is something else, and we are going to move now for confirmation of that something else. And I am hopeful that that something else will expand employment for our people, will create more opportunities for our people, and will earn foreign exchange for the country.
The minister was addressing a press conference recently. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
What are we? You're full of our roots and culture. That was in Jamaica 60. Jamaica 60? What a piece of news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart going bust up.
Just in, the island of Jamaica is on the verge of celebrating its 60th year of independence.
I only we have to celebrate it. They say the people them come here, you know. But you see, when our people decide, say the other people them free paper, burn up. Them say if it's war, start it, whatever. We all collect medal, panta,
The celebrations are slated to begin on January 1st, 2022. Organized by the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport. We have more in this report.
I am on site and planning activities are ablaze. Persons are advised to download the Reggae Jamaica app.
to know what the pre.
Why pre?
Activities for the Jamaica 60 celebration.
Yeah. I don't know the app to get the updates then.
Key investments in human resources, technology and infrastructure have led to the Ministry of National Security ending 2021 with reductions in most major crimes. Watch as we bring you more of the successes within the Ministry of National Security.
We have to invest in the security service and the security forces.
Not only to tackle crime and restore public order, but also to build capacity. And so in 2021, the Ministry of National Security made significant advancements in technology and strengthened key pieces of legislation. Now, over the next few minutes, we'll recap the high points of the year that was. Guided by the planned Secure Jamaica framework, the ministry applied strategic approaches to strengthen the national security architecture. Key legislation were approved by both houses of parliament.
Let me re-emphasize, strong legislation is critical to sustainable crime reduction.
The ministry also pushed through with its commitment on the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Amendment Act 2021. The scope of offences in each of the bills was broadened to expand the list of aggravating factors, increase penalties, and protect witnesses. These were complemented by the addition of new ballistics and forensic equipment at the Firearms Licensing Authority FLA and the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. This investment in the use of science and technology resulted in approximately 222 cases being resolved using DNA evidence and approximately 143 firearm cases resolved between January and October 2021.
Forensic science is a new frontier of law enforcement towards swift and sure justice.
To further strengthen this area, ground was broken for the construction of a new state-of-the-art forensic pathology suite in Kingston.
We have to provide our police force with the required facilities, physically, technologically, and all the support services required to ensure we can do it.
To secure our borders, the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency PICA was equipped to detect forged documents with its new document forensic laboratory. On April 1, the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA formally and legally became an independent agency of the Ministry of National Security. Significant budgetary allocation was made to enhance cybersecurity capacity, including the further build-out of Jamaica Eye, the country's network of closed-circuit television CCTV cameras. 140 CCTV cameras were installed in 2021, pushing the total network to over 800 cameras. Upgrades were also carried out on the computer-aided dispatch system to handle incoming calls.
The use of the CCTV surveillance in conjunction with improved police communication. The mobility has contributed to increased agility, efficiency and effectiveness of police operations.
Developments in technology were paired with the upgrading of police stations under Project Rebuild, Overhaul and Construct Project Rock. 11 police stations were renovated and 4 new ones built. Meanwhile, Cabinet gave approval for construction of the Westmoreland headquarters of the JCF, and domestic violence intervention centers were established at designated stations across the island. In relation to manpower, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, achieved its target of 1,000 new recruits last year.
Our capacity to train police officers has tripled. So we actually have moved from 2 to 4 training facilities over that period.
Mobility was also revved up with new assorted vehicles for law enforcement officers. And to guide their operations, JCF members and other stakeholders now have an electronic offences point to prove and authorities handbook. It gives reference guide to 104 offences and 103 related legal terms. Among the strategies applied in 2021 to tackle crime, is the deployment of a quick response team to respond to inter-gang activities. There was also the continuation of Zones of Special Operations (ZOSO) and the implementation of a short-term state of public emergency (SOE) in some police divisions. Through special operations, the police were able to recover several illegal firearms and assorted rounds of ammunition, and intercept the entry of illegal drugs. While murder continued to be a concern, the security forces successfully brought down other major crimes in 2021, such as shootings, rapes, robberies, and break-ins. Overall figures of these areas showed a decline. The security apparatus targeted at-risk youth as part of interventions to prevent crime. A new Citizen Security Secretariat was established to coordinate initiatives under the Citizen Security Plan. 30 young men representing the first cohort graduated from the Articulated Truck Driving Program. The one-year program is being undertaken in partnership with the Jamaica Defense Force and the Hart NSTA Trust.
If we engage 20,000 young people, that's half the population of high school graduates, there is no question that will have significant transformative effect in the community.
More young men and women were also enrolled in the Jamaica National Service Corps, with 200 graduating in June. The Department of Correctional Services (DCS) received technological equipment to allow wards at its Juvenile Services Unit to access critical services virtually. These include court hearings, academic sessions, and meeting with family members.
It is our endeavor to ensure that none of our approximately 500 children in our care are left behind.
The DCS was authorized to hire an additional consultant forensic psychiatrist to design and oversee a forensic mental health care program. This is to ensure that inmates with mental illness receive proper care.
Our ministry has initiated the planning process with the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the Ministry of Local Government to reopen a proper forensic ward to be completed within this term of government.
And closed-circuit television CCTV cameras were purchased to enhance surveillance in correctional facilities. The Ministry of National Security, applying programs, policies, legislation, and technology to achieve the objectives of Plan Secure Jamaica, recovering stronger while ensuring safer communities for all.
Court efficiency, easy access to justice services, and the timely delivery of justice are the hallmarks of a first-class justice system. We have taken the first steps towards these objectives.
Clearly defined footprints were made in 2021. They took form as new, modernized courthouses and justice centers, faster case clearance rates, a more mobile justice machinery, and greater priority of children who are victims of crime. Join us on Tuesday, January 11, when we'll have those stories and more coming out of the Ministry of Justice for 2021.
The team at the Ministry of Justice has faithfully discharged their duties as the lead administrators of justice in Jamaica.
As you heard earlier in the Ministry of National Security Year in Review, the Trafficking in Persons Act was recently amended to prevent this crime and protect victims. The National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons has been providing expert leadership on the matter. Find out more next.
Sometimes when persons hear trafficking, they think about sex, sexual exploitation.
But it's much broader than that. It also involves persons being forced into labor, marriages, begging, and domestic servitude, among other acts. Human trafficking can affect anyone, regardless of gender or socioeconomic background. Any boy or girl, woman or man can be a victim of human trafficking. Manager of the Trafficking in Persons Secretariat, Shanae Russell Robinson, says in Jamaica, the two common forms of trafficking are forced labor and sex trafficking, with children being the primary victims.
Our victim mainly, sadly so, has been mostly children, meaning persons under the age of 18 years old, has been our main victims of trafficking in persons in Jamaica, as well as most of our victims are local persons, and perhaps a little over 60% are locals, and the rest is international or non-national victims.
The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, says it has taken note of a worrying trend where a family member, parent, or guardian is the trafficker or the one who sells a child to a third-party trafficker. The crime, known as familial trafficking, involves primarily maternal figures, and based on evidence, most local cases of this type of human trafficking involve sexual exploitation.
Last year, there were 8 victims identified within Jamaica. And worthy of note is that these 8 victims were all children. This is a troubling trend. Since the start of 2021, we have identified 5 victims, all children, all girls. This is a troubling trend. Another trend that we are seeing, it's developing, is that women who are supposed to be the parents of or the guardians of these children are the ones who are seemingly seeking to exploit them.
Detective Inspector Gordon says a mother was arrested and charged last year for exploitation of her daughter. Another mother was arrested and charged in June 2021 for a similar offense, with other investigations currently underway against parents or guardians of children who have told the authorities that they were exploited. The Ministry of National Security, through the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, has been raising awareness of these activities as part of efforts to curtail human trafficking in the country and sensitize the public about what the crime looks like.
The nature of human trafficking is that it continues to evolve, and it is not something that is easily, the concept of it is not easily grasped. But the basic knowledge of human trafficking, persons tend to believe that certain activities are acceptable, and because of this, they do not report. Persons tend to believe that human trafficking must involve transportation.
The Ministry of National Security has been seeing success in its fight against human trafficking. Ms. Russell Robinson says over 100 victims have been rescued since 2010. In addition, 8 traffickers were convicted within the courts. Judges have also been trained in the laws and procedures of the Trafficking in Persons Prevention, Suppression and Punishment Act.
The Act was also amended in 2013, 2018, and just recently, 2021. So these are measures that we have been put in place to ensure that Jamaica is aligned with international best practices and to ensure that we are keeping abreast of the changing times, because traffickers are also constantly evolving their methods.
Ms. Russell Robinson says while the mandate of the task force is to catch perpetrators, the focus is also to protect victims of trafficking, as well as carry out measures to reduce such incidents locally. A critical aspect of the NATFATIP's mandate is the reintegration of victims into society. The support is a priority based on the psychological impact of the ordeal on victims.
After you've come out of a life of trafficking in persons, you are devastated, you are traumatized, and you will need the assistance of persons as well as your family members and government and other stakeholders to assist you in getting back to a normal life.
Systems in place to offer assistance include a government-operated shelter for victims of trafficking, a reintegration program, assistance with educational expenses and job opportunities, as well as training and other extracurricular skills. There is also assistance with immigration documents such as passport and other forms of ID if the victim is a non-national. This is in addition to psychosocial counseling by the Victim Services Division of the Ministry of Justice and the Child Protection and Family Services Agency.
This is long-term counseling, so it's not just counseling for short term, because some victims, they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and a whole host of other medical conditions. So we offer those services to help them to cope within society. And most importantly, depending on the circumstances that would have led them into a life of trafficking, we want to ensure that we prevent them from getting back into those circumstances.
In July 2021, the ministry commemorated World Day Against Trafficking in Persons with a focus on hearing from victims. Ms. Russell Robinson says survivors are key stakeholders in the fight against human trafficking. Their experiences, she says, play a critical role in establishing effective measures to prevent the crime, as well as to identify and rescue victims and provide the support needed for their rehabilitation.
It is best to get first-hand information from victims on how we can assist them and if our guidelines and policies in place are up to standard and efficient to assist victims.
With all hands on deck, we can fight human trafficking.
Please do your due diligence. Always exercise care and caution when you're conducting your business. Be wise, open your eyes, spot them, stop them, and report them.
If you suspect or know that someone is being trafficked, or if you are a victim of human trafficking, call the nearest police station or the police emergency numbers 311, 811, or 119 and make a report. You may also send an email to tip.ocid@jcf.gov.jm or call the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime CTOC at 876-967-1389.
Our arrival figures are climbing. We have welcomed over 36,000 cruise passengers.
Jamaica's tourism sector is ripe for investment.
Jamaica is well on its way to recovery.
And that's how we close out today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to join us again tomorrow as we bring you more highlights of government achievements in 2021. Catch up with the past year in reviews by visiting our YouTube channel or website. You can also keep connected with us on our social media pages and our mobile app that's smartphone compatible. On behalf of the entire team here at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.